We are joined by a very special guest. We'll talk some South Carolina, and I know we've got a lot of South Carolina fans because I hear them ripping me on our YouTube channel. It's Jay Phillips of 107.5 The Game. He's covered South Carolina for a couple of years, like I've covered Tennessee for a couple of years. We always love visiting with him because the insight he gives us to the Gamecocks is like no other. Jay, we appreciate the time.
It's a couple of decades now, which is kind of scary.
This may or may not be my 25th SEC Media Days.
Yeah, well, it's not my 25th Media Days. I think it's my 18th Media Days, but I have been doing it for a while. So, yeah, but we're ready to go.
Good stuff. So, the South Carolina Gamecocks kind of threw a monkey wrench into things for the Vols. How stunning was that game? And then we'll get to how they finished against Clemson, too. But that was supposed to be a walk in the park for the Vols, and they can talk about off-field issues all they want, but give South Carolina credit. They came to play.
They did, and I think a lot of people, well, everybody. Look, let's face it, everybody was surprised by that. If you weren't, then you're probably lying to yourself, or you've got other issues. That said, you mentioned that it was supposed to be a walk in the park for Tennessee. Did Tennessee believe that? I think that might have been some of it. That said, that was also at a point for South Carolina football, offensively at least, where Shane Beamer had been incrementally taking control of the offense, or at least wresting some control from Marcus Satterfield at the time. And what I mean by that, Dave, Marcus had a big playbook. Big, thick, and I'm being figurative here, but he wanted every play to always be at his disposal. Mm-hmm. That's fine in theory, but in practice, literally and figuratively, you can't do that in college. You don't have the time, you don't have the talent. And Shane was recognizing, going back a few weeks to like the A&M game, Marshawn Lloyd, who's now transferred to Southern California, got 3 carries in the first half. And Shane was unhappy. And in the second half, I think in that A&M game, Marshawn got like 17 or 18 carries, and South Carolina won the game. The point I'm making here is Shane was like, Marcus, let's quit trying to do whatever. Put the ball in the hands of those who can get it done. Juice Wells and all, those guys, let's make the difference makers make a difference, And by the time they got to Tennessee, they had, I hate the term simplified the playbook. They had just taken off the crap. We've been using on our show an analogy like this, man. A Denny's menu. All right. At Denny's, you could get like salmon and a T-bone.
All right.
Who goes to Denny's for salmon and T-bone? Let's take that off the menu, Marcus. We're never going to go there. So let's quit practicing it. Let's quit having the chefs try to cook it or the cooks try to cook it. Let's just do pancakes and eggs and grits and hash browns, because that's what people want. And they did that with football. And by the time it came around to Tennessee, plus whatever else was happening that week, it manifested itself in a fantastic victory. And Carolina, I think, scored on virtually every possession. But nobody saw that coming. But that's what was happening at the time with Gamecock football. The head coach was saying, I don't like this. I know how to fix this, and I'm going to fix it. And Spencer had his confidence. Again, Marshawn ran well. Defense did enough. Of course, Hendon went down, and that certainly harmed Tennessee in that game. I'm not sure if that makes a difference. I have no way to know, but Carolina did what they did.
So, is it fair to say that before that game, Carolina fans were sour on Shane Beamer?
No, not on Shane, on Marcus.
Okay, gotcha.
Not on Shane. Shane's fine.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, and he has some success. I guess we could debate whether or not there's a glass ceiling at South Carolina. But something I heard coming in today as we broadcast live from SEC Media Days in Nashville is that at some point, Oklahoma, if things don't work out there, might have interest in a Shane Beamer. I know there's no way to tell. I covered Lane Kiffin, for goodness sake. They're going to tell you they'll stay there forever. But what sense do you get about his long-term goal?
It's funny that you bring up Lane Kiffin, because I personally believe that before they might look Oklahoma, and we're being very hypothetical here, before they look at Shane Beamer, they might look at Lane Kiffin or Josh Heupel. And I think both would make sense for Oklahoma in a modern sense. Heupel obviously makes sense, and I know he was fired from there, but those people are gone. But let's let Brent Venables at least get a chance. Listen, if I'm Shane Beamer and Oklahoma calls me, I certainly listen. And again, to be hypothetical, if South Carolina were to lose Shane Beamer to Oklahoma, it's because Shane Beamer is doing very well
True.
at South Carolina. And for as long as I've covered South Carolina, and I grew up in Columbia, I went to South Carolina in my lifetime. South Carolina has never hired a football coach from a position of strength. In other words, because everybody's fired, sadly, one guy died. But you've never hired from a position. And even when Coach Morrison died, they were about to get popped with some NCAA stuff back in the late 80s. So that wouldn't have been a position of strength either way, because you probably would have had to get rid of him. So in this case, were that to unfold the way we hypothetically mentioned, I'm not saying that'd be good for South Carolina, but they would be in a position they've never really been in when it comes to, hey, next potential coach, look for you, instead of, hey, next potential coach, we need you to fix all this. Because that's what they've had to do through the years. And in the case of Lou Holtz and Steve Spurrier, two giants of the game, they were available. You didn't go hire them from another school,
That's a good point.
Lou was on TV, and I'm not really joking. Steve was playing too much golf for his own liking. Seriously, he was like, I want to coach, And South Carolina was fortunate enough to be able to put the package together to get him. We saw what Steve did, especially. So that said, I also know this. Shane Beamer really did want the South Carolina job. He didn't just want a head coaching job. Now, he might have wanted there might be some other jobs that were attractive to Shane Beamer. But Shane coached with Steve for 5 years. 2 of Shane's 3 children and Emily that were born in Columbia. They love Columbia. They really enjoyed raising their young family in Columbia for a few years. Then he had the opportunity to work for his father again. Who knows if he leaves? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. But they really love Columbia. They live right near campus. The kids are happy in school. Things are going well. He's got community support, and he's part of the community. The last head coach was not. Will Muschamp, I've said before, Dave, and I probably told you this. Will Muschamp, and I mean this kind of jokingly, but serious in a little bit. Will Muschamp's answer to getting better at football is to watch a lot of film. And if that doesn't work, then you go watch more film.
I knew you were going to say that.
And Shane, on the other hand, I'm serious. That's how Will's wired. That's fine. And listen, Will won the damn lottery, so he's doing fine. But he won't be a head coach again at this level, in my opinion. But Shane lets his assistants do their job, and Shane is out selling the program. He's selling recruits. He's selling donors. He's selling boosters. He's selling fans. He goes above and beyond. When it comes to media availability, he wants to sell South Carolina football.
You know who you're talking about, not to interrupt your flow there. You're talking about Philip Fulmer.
And he did all right.
Yeah.
I mean, until he didn't. But some other things may have factored into that. But Coach Fulmer, look, I remember I was in college the day South Carolina beat Tennessee in the first year of SEC play, 1992.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Coach Majors was let go not long after that. And Coach Fulmer did his thing, and Philip went out and got his players, and he won a title, and he won some conference titles. But that's what you do. And Philip Fulmer let David Cutcliffe do his job. Shane Beamer was letting Marcus Satterfield do his job. Now he's got Dowell Loggins coming in to do his job, but Marcus, how do I say it nicely? Marcus just wasn't cut out for that. Marcus is the guy, I think, who can draw up plays, but Marcus is not the guy who can teach. He's not a teacher. Dowell is a teacher. Coach Cutcliffe, as you well know, is a teacher. People like that, you let them go do their job. John Chavis, a teacher. Philip Fulmer had great assistants. Shane Beamer's got some really good assistants. That's what you got to let them do their job.
Yeah. And I think that Phillips started to struggle when he didn't have David Cutcliffe.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big part of it. Make a case that Spencer Rattler is the best quarterback in the SEC this year. Can you do that?
Well, I don't know if I can. I don't know.
He might end up being when we're having this conversation in 5 months.
Yeah, he might. I think it's an interesting year. It's one of those ebb and flow type situations right now. The Southeastern Conference lost a few good quarterbacks last year. I can make the case that he is experienced. I can make the case that he is talented. I can make the case that he is comfortable. And it's funny. I was talking to somebody recently enough that Spencer and Dowell have kind of gotten together, like the movie Step Brothers. Like it's like Spencer and Dowell. It's not that they fought at the beginning, but now they get along great. And that's what Spencer needed. He needed somebody that could believe in him and harness what he does. Dowell Loggins has coached quarterbacks in the NFL for 15 years, and he was on staff at Arkansas for a couple of years because he wanted to learn how to recruit. And he had known Shane from some previous stops. So there's a comfort level in terms of what Spencer is going to be asked to do relative to what it was like in the first half of last year when he looked out of sorts. And again, in my opinion, Dave, it's because the playbook was so big and they were just asking them to do too much for a college program. Marcus came out of the NFL with Matt Rule for a little bit. You can do that in the NFL, and you can work all day, 24/7, if you will, on football. The NCAA doesn't let you do that. You can't do that in college football. So I can't tell you he's going to be the best quarterback in the SEC because Carolina has got to find a way to run the ball.
Yep.
And obviously, you always have to block. If they can put some of those things in place, I like his receiving core. It's deep. It's talented. Coach Stepp is an excellent teacher as well for receivers. So he's just, if they can put those things together and get through the first month comfortable in this new Dowell Loggins offense, really, look, if you find a way to beat North Carolina, I'm not saying Spencer Rattler's in the Heisman conversation, but considering North Carolina has a Heisman candidate, if you find a way to beat North Carolina in game one, then you've got an easy game in game two with Furman. Then you go to Georgia, and if you can play well at Georgia and not win, you don't have to beat Georgia necessarily. But if you can go to Athens and play well, then I think Spencer Rattler has a case for being a premier quarterback.
Jay, do you have pets?
I have 2 dogs.
What are the dogs' names?
Truvy is a big yellow lab. She weighs about 90 pounds. And then we have a little Yorkie poodle mix named Mabel. She weighs about 12 pounds. So we have very different dogs, but Mabel's older and is definitely the boss.
Okay. Well, older dogs can get arthritis. So I'm going to send you some craft treats. Go to crafttreats.com with the CBD. Like I did that? With the CBD derivative that will help with pets' arthritis, stomach issues, or also, how about anxiety? Crafttreats.com. Use the promo code Off the Hook. His dogs are getting some. I'm Dave Hooker. More after this. It'll be Rick Neuheisel up next.
Is he going to play his guitar?
No, I didn't get him, but I also didn't get him any craft treats. So, maybe if I'd have got him craft treats, he would have played his guitar.
Yeah.
There you go. Use the promo code Off the Hook. He's Jay Phillips. He's awesome of 107.5 The Game. More after this, including Rick Neuheisel.